All right, good morning, folks. We're going to do some more combat and exploration artwork here for the Spelljammer project that we're going to be releasing as soon as it's done. Give me a second here to check my signals and make sure everything sounds good. I'm messing around with my window positioning here, and all right, that seems to be sitting pretty. Let's go check out my signal. We'll go through my intro spiel, and then we'll get to work. So, mic check, 1, 2, 3, check, check. Mic check, 2, 3, check, check. Yep, sounds good. All right. Let's see. Get into my intro spiel here, and then we'll get to work. Click, click, click. Wrong button. Come on, doggy. There we go. All right. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements, and I illustrate them. Then I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition here for the past few years. There are a slew of links in the description down below to work that I've already published. If you're here for art, then across the free previews in those books, there's probably about 150 different illustrations to check out. If you're here for the D&D 5e, then they have extensive previews, and everything that I build is meant for use on both sides of the DM screen. So if you see anything that you think is cool, consider making a purchase, add it to your campaign, help support the growth of the channel. Otherwise, supporting the growth of the channel can be achieved through, if you're on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney. I always post when I'm live, and you'll see notifications such as this one that I've just gone live again today. But if you want to get absolute notification, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon here on YouTube to help push the algorithm and demonstrate to YouTube that people like long-form production formats like this. And we picked up a new subscribers, so thanks a lot to the new crew. Really appreciate you being here. So we create role-playing game supplements. We publish them online. Here's a piece that we're working on, the Spelljammer composition overall. Let's see if I can get this thing to pan out enough to take a look at what we're doing here. Here's the cover that we created, and here is Word freezing up on. There we go. So here we are. And then let's take a look at the beep, 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 beep. So we format that, we write the text, we play test it, we send it off to an editor. Once the editor is finished making the word sound good, then they send it back to us. We then format it so that it sits on the page pretty. And then we go, we pick up each page as a PDF. We drop them into Photoshop here as PDFs. And then we start painting. So let's continue painting. Peel this open. It's the piece that we're working on inside of here for the combat section. Let's see, our references, our ship, the Theurgy, backdrop of asteroids. Let's see, where do we want to be? There we are. Guns, lots of guns. There. Bring this back to dough. Bit more of a wiggle butt. Oops, let's get our have? There we go. It's more like a crab than a spider, I guess, but oh well. No one's really, no one's really keeping score. All right, no one keeping score out here. Roundabout. There. Architecture is difficult. That's why we get paid the big bucks. Huzzah! Half the time I don't know what I'm doing. I just trust that's going to work out, and it does. Sometimes it fails miserably. I don't really know until it happens. But I've done enough of painting that I tend to find that it works itself out. Totally cereal. All right, let's clean that out. Legs. That goes there, and what, you're there. And that's convenient. Let's make this a bit bigger. Blah, 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 bigger. Yeah, that'll work out. Push these things over. Yeah, I like how that looks. That's good. Like that. And I gotta get this guy offline. There. I need to have some distance here. Free transform. Skew. was pretty good. Let's see. Get them feeties. Dee 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 dee. Boop. There and here. Bit of a bend. Beep, 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 boo. How are you doing back here, buddy? Let's do you something better. Erase those bits. Let's tilt that guy's head up. Meridian. Kind of want to, not for this project, not for this book, but overall, I kind of want to redo ships in general. I already added on more weapons per ship than what's listed in the Adventures in Space book. Because of the way that fleet mechanics work, it allows for more weapons to attack than what they just defaulted to be aboard the ship. They didn't have any rhyme or reason to the amount of weapons that are on a ship. It was just an arbitrary decision what looked cool. It didn't actually have any statistical significance. They didn't think that deeply into it. They just cut and pasted the ships and the weapons that were in the second edition book and just basically presented them as was. So there's certainly an opportunity for us to be able to update how the ships perform. And one of those, like for example, most of these fighter ships that we've been including with these larger carrier craft, they have all these spaces underneath the bottom of decks of most ships is just kind of wasted space. So the way that I've been looking at them is as dry docks that you can clip these smaller fighter crafts to the bottom. And since you've got the gravity plane that allows you to be upside up and downside down depending on where you are in relation to the ship, you can have little craft just basically hanging out underneath, which would mean that we would want to have a flight deck built into these ships, and we don't currently, like, second edition didn't have flight decks because they didn't really lean into jumper, or like jump ships or fighter craft being a significant portion of the combat narrative in second edition. It was more Age of Sails, much more Age of Sails, to say, like you had to have a crew that were in the rigging helping move the masts to make the ships do. But in 5th edition, that doesn't exist. The only reason you would have rigging on a crew is if you are a ship that most frequently is landing and traversing water in a world with an ocean, right? Like if you want to do business in Waterdeep, you have to approach by sea. You can't just fly and land in the middle of the city. You're going to freak people out. You're going to create a general sense of unrest and paranoia that, you know, the city can be destroyed at any time. And even though that is true, it can be. We don't want you constantly reminding us of that. So please park your boat in the ocean and float your way here if you want to do business in Waterdeep. And that is a compelling enough reason for a number of merchants to have seafaring ships, even though there are much more practical designs that are out there that are better service for space in general. It's that being able to land on the water and just do business in Waterdeep is compelling enough that it enforces compliance. So as such, because the Age of Sail is not a requirement, instead it's an option, that allows us to reconsider what are the priorities on a ship that's never intended to enter orbit, like Zero-G design. And you see a lot of those in the second edition Spelljammer. There are a lot of Zero-G designs in Spelljammer, but again, the way that fighter ships wasn't really leaned into until later books that came out. Thank you, timer. Ah, swag of coffee. Chase it down. Like the only ship in second edition, I'll take that back. There's 2 ships that are designed for being actual fighter ship carriers, and that's the Tsunami from the nation of Wu, which is like a long undulating snake, like a Chinese dragon, and it has a bunch of locust-shaped fighter craft that it spits out from its underbelly. And it's segmented like this, and it's got like leggings like this, and it's got the head. But this is essentially what the Tsunami ship looks like. And each one of these segments is basically a 50-foot block, right? And it would have little fighter ships that would come off of it. So it was a real terror to deal with. Massive, massive craft. The other one was the Elven Armada, which was shaped like a butterfly, like something like really sloppily drawn, but basically something like this. It had an entire castle. This is 500 feet across. And it had a shit ton of little flitter fighters. Takeoff deck here and here, landing deck here, get pushed back up into rotation like this. And you had all this, you had this huge structure here, and then the Armada itself with its wings. So you take off up here, and then you can land up here, and then the ship will get transported back up here. Meanwhile, you have all this. Get rid of the wings. You have like this massive citadel structure, and then you got all the interior. You got the helm here. You got all this interior. This is like 200 feet of interior space. It's like huge. It's like a 7-story building. Yeah, 500 feet is well, it's a 5-story building anyway. So 500 feet from like this. I love the Armada. I love the Armada and the Flitter. But there's also the Ogre Mammoth craft, which is basically a giant hockey puck of pain. Hold on, real quick. The Mammoth was like literally a giant hockey puck, but it had a mastodon face, and it had oops, wrong direction. So it had these huge tusks which could act as piercing rams, and it had the curled nose which could act as a ram, a bludgeoning ram. And then the rest of the craft was like catapult, ballista. But it was also a 500-foot block, so you could take a bunch of goblin aerocraft and deploy those off of the ship as well. So it was basically at the Heavy Titans. It was ogre mammoths versus elven armadas, and neither one of them really wanted to risk those craft against each other. But they transported shit tons of fighters. That's their military strength. Carriers' military strength is always being capable of just dumping fighter craft onto the enemy. That's what U.S. Navy's carriers can do, and that's kind of what they were framed around. But those are the only three craft. Those are the only three craft. Even the Mammoth wasn't really even designed for arrows. That's just how I implement them. That's not technically. They're more like battleships. That they're not carriers. They just have a lot of weapons on them. So only the Tsunami and the Elven Flitter were really just custom built as carrier ships for fighter craft. And again, it was later. It was later in the production of second edition Spelljammer stuff that they got into fighter craft and started creating small craft that could really lean into that narrative. But then the line of books stopped. TSR kind of bankrupted. They didn't make any more. But the point is that since they didn't lean into since fighter combat wasn't a core to what was Spelljammer when it was first created, that ship of sail feeling was. So they didn't really build things for star combat, like fighter ship combat, until they started branching out, having scope sprawl, and getting into different types of things that could. So since we're starting, and since there is no sailing masts required in 5e, it's all handled by the pilot itself. All the movement is the pilot while you're in space. There is no need for a rigging crew. So that leaves a lot of space open for more weapons, and it allows us to reapproach how these ships were built with fighter combat as a core feature of how we approach Spelljammer using this supplement. Not that I expect this to become the definitive document in Spelljammer, but the rules are useful regardless of what your favorite combat mechanics are. You can use stuff in this book to help add both mechanical and narrative depth to your game. That's what I'm most excited about. If people just get their hands on it, it's useful to them. There's stuff here that's valuable. I'm really happy about that. gonna make that head a bit smaller. Merge this down. I'm futzing around a lot with this night spider. But I'm okay with it. I'm in a hurry to get it done, but I'm not so much of a rush that I want to do shitty work. I learned that lesson in the core mechanics book. I got really rushed and started kind of cheesing on some of the art in those books, which I'm really glad about floating back around. I'm happy about the 1D&D update because it gives me an excuse to go back in and rebuild those books using the new mechanics that we'll have for the next 10 years or whatever. I think a low simmer stress that third-party content producers like DMsGuild folks or whatever have around how Hasbro is approaching potential digital content is that if there's going to be updates primarily coming through online, concerned that if people are going to be producing books that there's going to be errata update changes more frequently, that's going to render a lot of, I mean, already there's like 20,000 products on the DMsGuild that's going to become out of date because it's questionable if people are going to go back around and update their content to be 24 compliant. It's my intention to make the content that I produce to reformat it so it does remain relevant, but at the same time, it's unreasonable for a lot of folks that have produced a lot of content. They're getting their work is becoming obsolete, and it's questionable, like, how often is Wizards going to make updates to the game system if this is going to be like the last edition and they're going to start updating stuff online. There could be a faster release of official content that is more than just errata. That's like that it could potentially reformat features that core classes have that other supplements that third-party producers are creating are kind of reliant and assuming are going to be present. Like, what if they change Barbarian's Brutal Critical completely after 2024 release, and by 2025 they made an errata update of it on D&D Beyond only, and you got a bunch of people that are creating, you know, Barbarian stuff that suddenly becomes irrelevant again. So I think that's a stress that is present in the community. That's just a theory. It's a film theory. That was stupid. haven't watched Film Theory in a while. That shit used to be amazing. I don't know how it fell off my radar, but Film Theory was a wicked channel, man. I mean, he could still be churning out content. I just haven't seen any while, so I don't know. Let's do a skew. Perfect. There's different like sail configurations we can build here. Like I could take these legs and I can have them create these huge fan effects. Which I think is fun. Got to use foreshortening and background layering. Like this to create depth. What I love about asteroids so much is they're such a fun tool to use in building, creating foreshortening inside of an infinite space. Like space is just space. It's hard to tell if this is like 15 feet. If it's like 500 feet, or is it like 10 feet, or is it 3 feet? Well, the asteroids having overlapping generates that foreshortening, just like in Bob Ross landscapes where you have the mountains and you have trees in front of the mountains and it's obscuring the mountains some. That gives you indication that it is closer. So by stacking these things up, that this ship is in front of all those asteroids back there, but also having weapons on that ship that are mirroring this ship, that gives you an automatic intuitive information that this is a decent sized craft that is being pushed back. And since we have all these rocks here and these rocks are in front of that, then you can see that this craft must be significantly larger because it's the same size. It occupies the same amount of space on the page about as what this does, but it is significantly further away. Hey, Nitro, it's a good one, man. Hey, thanks. Ballista, very good. Get our local yokels. Ballista. There you go. Ballista's pretty good. It's a little flawed, but once we bind everything down, I can fix, like, this curve needs to. I need to push this curve up, but it's currently separated. Once I bond it all down into the same single layer asset, it'll stack better. But right now we got some crew to build, so we can get started on that. Start pulling this thing together. We only have to do very light faded coloring back here to help. The more gray toned this craft is back, this vessel is back here, the further back in the illustration will get pushed. If I have a brighter color and different markings on this spiderling fighter craft, well, it's more of a gunboat really. It's 40 feet long, so it's a decent little gunboat. But this is a 200-foot night spider carrier, so I need to have this grayed out and this sharper color. So I'll have to have sharp color here and here, like with these fronter asteroids, and then as we fade further back in the belt, we'll drop the color and make them more monotone, less shade impacting there, and then we'll have the ocean star, the Sea of Star backwash behind everything to help lock in the environment. So a lot of word salad there. All I'm trying to say here is that we have to put our, as usual, maximum effort towards the foreground, and as we push back further in the page, it becomes more and more light and sketchy. And I think it's going to work out okay. It'll be probably another 5 hours of work. Let's be serious. 5 hours of work for us to get this thing finished. So we're going to start with the foreground character that is attempting to direct battle. So let's, I think we're at a place here now where we can go fetch. Let's go to, Siege Commander. Ooh, some MTG artwork giving me ups here. What do we see? Literally a Siege Commander. Siege Game Commander. That artwork is always... That dude looks like he came right out of Star Wars. That's hardcore. That's not the race that we're looking for here. I want to have something that's more armored, because it's going to be over the back. So I want to see if there's anything in here. I don't think Gobos are going to do it for me. Well, before I shit on everything, let's check this one out. Yeah, it's still Gobos regardless. Hardcore. Unreal. All right, let's get out of that. Let's see if we can go find something. Transformers! Nah, not relevant. Not relevant. Maybe, Persian. I don't know why Persian. Shit looks dope though. That's actually really fucking cool. God. What a hardcore. That's dope, man. like the lamellar armor. Okay, I think I can work with this. It's got a Nagamaki. I've never seen a Persian soldier using a Nagamaki before. That's crazy. I don't know what they call them. Nagamakis are basically, well, in Japan, Nagamakis are katanas, but the handle's 3 feet. So you can hold it. You can hold it like a siege, like a pole arm. But the blade is only 4 feet, so it's like it's like a 3-foot blade and then a 2-foot, a 2-foot handle. So it's about a 5-foot weapon overall. But it moves like you wield it like a 2-handed weapon, but it's maneuverable and short enough that you can use it in close quarters, and it's really good at grappling. I love using blade weapons for grappling, and it's really cool seeing this here. So I think I am going to grab this picture. Let's copy that. Let's see if we find some credits somewhere. True soldier. I don't know if I like how that's written, but fake history. I don't know about that wording, but whatever. It's dope though. It's dope armor, so I'm gonna borrow it. And Pinterest is horrible about providing credits where credits are due, so we're just gonna keep moving. Let's check our color. Yeah, there's plenty of color going on here, so that's a good piece. Let's scooch this dude down here. Bum, bum, bum. Let's use that base red. I like that. I'm gonna use this as our base. Steel helmet covering the entirety of the head and then some. I don't know what the deal is with that protrusion off the top. Pointy hat. Don't know. I'm not going to use it exactly. I'm just using the color scheme, and I like the lamellar. So like what I already have here isn't actually that far off of where that design is at. Like this is very lamellar type sleeves, and I already have the pointy hat. So this is actually pretty on point with where I want to go. Very, very dark. See, I was talking about last night about spacing out different lighting, like light, dark, light, dark. This is fairly dark. This is fairly dark. This is fairly dark. This is fairly dark. I'm having lighting issues in this area, so I actually need to. I'm gonna switch that. I'm gonna look for a different base color. Blue, huh? That's painted. Something that's not being taken into account here that I know is going to come back and bite me in the ass is that I'm not using the black background to help frame lighting for the characters in the ship so far. I'm acting like it's a white background, and that is bad news. So what I'm going to need to do is drop in darkness. Just leave it like that. It's probably realistic. Like the time, the type of tone that we're going to be looking for. Fade it out a bit here. We got a layering mask that's blocking all that off, which I should. It's appropriate. Figure these bleeds out. Fucking with my composition. What if instead what if I were to take the can I get away with something like that? We're exploring. Deck. Theurgy. That's starting to pinch the space. I needed that distance there to help fake the perspective, but it's going off fucking screen. Yeah, this might be an ill-fated mission. So what do we do instead? Pull the Theurgy off of line there. Tilt. Not liking how pinched this is, like at all. I could do something cheeky, and That ain't working. The thought here is to have the try to block that off. I can still have the sketch and stuff inside of here. Let's conceal this. Disable for now. Follow for now. Power to the people say. Pump the lyrical. Be the miracle. Block this. Unblock here. Delete this. Add a new mask back in. Like that. Instead, we can do a gradient fade. So we can still have the color foreground of the Nyogi ship without having to worry about the space backdrop encroaching too much on the text space of the title and descriptive, the text. Just use the word text, Kearney. There you go. Hey, Hornetico, it's good to see you. Great news! 3D modeling side project that I've been unable to get off the ground has finally moved past the roadblocks that held me up for the past 7. Holy shit! Congratulations! We can do this fun transition from color into black and white, or from color into line art, so that the line art isn't getting in the way of the text that we're working on here. But it doesn't push us out, but we can still have the fighter craft in color, so it starts to pop out of the background. We've already done maps and other illustrations that kind of bend through that color black and white space transition, so I think we can be safe there. I think that might work. Wrong button. Go like that. Really just block that. Like literal block. this is another compelling reason to work with less full color. The way that I bend objects around text, it would lend itself to just being line art, so that it stays in the same type of medium as the black and white of the or whatever color of the text. By moving away from full color into sketch art, I would have less jarring transition as I mold things around the shape of each piece. Word salad. This is me just trying to figure out what's the right way to move forward. The piece that we're building. Thank you. Timely timer. Still got 20 minutes. Zero that out. Push that up a bit. Yes, we can. Gives a bit more space off of that line of text. Yeah, we're just experimenting here, trying to figure out. Because we're going to have this ribbon here is going to be, up here it's going to be faded out to white. And then down here it's going to be stars and then black along the bottom. I should probably build that out sooner than later to make sure that things are framing and curving into it. This is where we are at right now. Probably means I need to do a fade here as well. And stack layers by adding additional folders. If I pull this guy in and have him just like directly interacting with the ballista, that may allow me to take the entire ship. Pull it more offline and bring it in closer like this. I don't need to I really don't need to see their asses. I need to get the ballista across, which I think we're doing. And I can do highlights here to help pull out the lighting a bit. And then I can push this front Theurgy back a touch like that. Now we're starting to pinch. Yeah, now we're pinching the text a little less. We're squeezing that in a bit. I'm happy with this. This is coming along. Theurgy, and can delete that layer for now. This a bit more. I don't think we're pinching anything too much. Let's do that. Let's get rid of that rock there to open up that space a bit more. So far so good. I think I can get this blend to work. Tough one. This is a tough one. This is probably gonna be this will probably be the most challenging, like structurally the most challenging illustration we do. It's because the composition has a lot of rules that we have to follow here, along with the text, the spacing, the blocking, and yet we still have to also make sure that the transitioning from color into blank space, that it feels good in the process. Tricky. You can do a "45-degree angle cut, maybe. Help keep shit straight. Pardon the pun. Don't hate it. I do like that it's matching the angle of this text. Here. There is an elegance to that. Yeah, I don't want to pinch that T too much. Alright, well, whatever. That'll really help push the foreground. How does that feel? Get out of there, Scallywag. Thank you. By getting that railing equal in height to where the text and the map's movement is, creates a natural frame. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Okay, this is coming along. We'll see. We're seeing. We can. Bleed that out from there. Sorry if this isn't the most sexy part of the project, but these are some of the struggles we artists go through to build the compositions that we want. So I don't mind sharing stuff like this on occasion. Me frustrating my way through a project like this. I know it's probably not interesting to anyone that isn't an artist who can relate to the struggle of getting a decent composition, but again, it's the whole point of the stream is to show the effort and all the little nuance that goes into actually creating a 100-page PDF document. So, text. All it took was using a different modeling program than the animation program. Great. Oh, nice. Okay. Before importing them over, now I can actually pose and animate the character model maker. Nice. So you found a good posing program that jives with the animation program that you're using. So you can build the frames in the 3D model, and the frames are still respected, or the framework for the characters are still respected in the animation program that you're using. If I understand what you're saying correctly, I'm not super up on animation language. That sounds like what you're saying, is that that using a different modeling program allowed the animation tools that you wanted to jive with the models that you're creating. Mojo Jojo. I've got the asteroids, so I can fake the space. Pardon the pun. Oh, I'm starting to like this a lot. Normally, I have this bug where Blender. Yeah, okay, I know Blender. Glitches on the skeleton rigs of the character models, making them impossible, unusable in the animation. So you switched animation studios or the animation programs? I feel like that is the correct way to go. If you make the models and skeletonize them in blockback, they import the Blender just fine. Oh, well, fantastic, my guy. What turned you on to blockback? Was it just was this something you just found? Like, I find a lot of stuff is like having problems with interaction, like OBS interacting with Photoshop. You know, like putting in types, like having problems with crashing issues, with moving multiple objects in Word at the same time, stuff like that. And I'm getting really clever answers. I like the interaction that I've got going between page, like page color and line art versus coloration and color washing here. It feels, forgive the artistic flair. Here, let me catch up. So it's a program meant to be making like PS1 style. Oh, okay. With pixel art textures, which is exactly what I want to work with anyway. Nice. Congratulations on finding a good solution, man. That is very satisfying. There's maps that we have throughout this document that start like have a color core to it, and then it bleeds out to just black and white with the line art of the grids extending beyond the color space of the composition. I like how we're introducing with this piece that same line art page fade with color just being in the center of the composition. This is something I haven't done before, but it felt like an appropriate aesthetic because of the way that we're trying to blend the narrative of ship combat as a color, like being represented as color, with the mechanics of the grid movement system that we're introducing for scaling movement and maps and movement and stuff. So it feels natural to be able to have a composition that moves from color into black and white along the edges, and I think this is doing a good job with that. Like I can even like take line art for this railing here, and I was thinking potentially push it out here, but I think I like this cut transition like that. But I'm liking the asteroids being on a separate layer from the wild space. I think this is going to work out. I think it's going to be interesting, and that's all I really can hope for. spent a lot of time on this fade, but I just want to make sure I'm getting the edges right. And now that we're building that darken, we have a better frame of reference for how how much light highlighting and base color do we need to have the rest of the piece here. So I think we only have a few minutes. Yeah, only got about a minute left. All right, so when we pick up tomorrow, we're going to start working on these characters here directly. I'm pretty confident about how this is all clustering here, and I kind of like little stars and stuff poking through. I think that should be okay. So we'll clean up the crew here to get them blocked in properly, to get rid of all these white and black and get them into an actual color scheme. We'll then work on the base color scheme for the asteroids and work on layering to make sure that this guy has foreshortening working for him with all these rocks. And then we can block in the color on the ship, and then we'll have all our major elements blocked in. We can work on the highlighting to help get that ballista to stand out from the background more, with like highlighting along its bow and up the top here. I think it's going to work out. It's going to be a little bit of work. It will be work, but I think it's going to end up looking really fucking cool. So this is done. All right, so that's it for the day. This is as far as we've gotten. When we next time we're gonna be back tomorrow morning. We're gonna keep working on blocking like we just did here. Working on the character art that should come along really nicely. I am back in what is it? 7:45 now. I will be back in 5-ish hours. We'll have our lunchtime. We're working on the martial powers mechanics for the alternate spellcasting system for martial character resources. So we'll do that. We're going to be working on the fighter. Let's see. Checking real quick. Yep, so fighter, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning to do this some more. I'll be back here on a Thursday morning as well, and then Thursday night we'll be back doing Spelljammer, Eberron NPC art. And then Friday morning we'll be back here, and then Saturday morning we'll continue working on the Abyssal Weapon book cover that we got commissioned to do by Andy and Brian. So that's it for today. Cheers. Yeah, it's a free program that several companies do. Oh, right on. Neat. Right on. All right, so that's it for the day. Thanks a lot for showing up, folks. If you're new to the channel, like I said, I'm here 6 days a week, building artwork and fighting through problems and making books. So like, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you want to see more shenanigans, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Laters.